Okay, so we are live, as far as I'm able to tell from my end of things. And it's not quite time to start yet, but hello and welcome to the people that have already shown up. Thank you for doing that. We'll just give the others, there's quite a lot of people registered for this webinar, so we'll just give it a few more minutes. What would be useful is to know if you can see and hear me. So the chat box says it's all working. So if you could just post a yes or some signal in the chat box. If you can see, you should be able to see a slide that says Attract Money Miracles on your screen, and you should be able to hear me speaking to you. So if you can see the slide, Attract Money Miracles, and you can hear me, please post in the chat box. That's always very reassuring for me. I have asked people to do this before, and then nothing appears in the chat box, and I start talking and think, yeah, I'm maybe talking to no one. But then people say, yes, it's fine, I can see and hear you. So so hopefully it's all working fine. I can see there's a few more people showing up. This is Trevor Emden speaking. Thank you for coming. I'll be diving into the content in just a minute or so. We'll just give people a little bit of time to log in. Hello, hello, hello. Please let me know if you can see and hear me by typing in the chat box. There should be a chat box on your screen. Hello, hello, hello. I can see there are people arriving. Oh, good. Hi, thank you. Okay, so I've got a response. Thank you very much. And you should be able to see my screen, which says Attract Money Miracles. Okay, so we may get more people. There's quite a lot of people registered for this one. I'm going to start fairly promptly because I want to be respectful of your time, and also because we have quite a dense agenda to get through. I want to dive into some stuff. Oh, hi, thank you. There's more confirmations. Cool. Thank you very much. All right, so let's dive in, and hopefully latecomers will. Hello, more people saying hello. Hi, David. Hi, Trevor. Hi, Billy. Thank you very much for being here. So I'm your host. I'm Trevor Emden. I'll introduce myself formally in a moment. Let me just tell you how the technology works from my end. In order to show you the slides, I have to bring the screen up, and it covers up the chat box. So you can't see me do that because I can see that when I move the screen around, it stays still for you. But how I like to do things generally, I don't want you to be holding on to questions. So if things come up for you while I'm speaking, please type them into the chat box, and I will do a Q&A session at the end, and I will try and cover everything. But don't sit there thinking, oh, I hope I remember this question, or what does he mean by that? If you think of it, type it into the chat box as we go along, and I will check the chat box and also the attendee box in case more people arrive. More people are arriving as I speak, in fact. Thank you for coming. Hello, you're in time. We haven't started yet. So I'm just saying to people arriving now, if you have a question as we go along, please type it into the chat box. I will do Q&A at the end. It's not that I'm ignoring you, is really the message I want you to get. So this training is called Attract Money Miracles. Now, what I'm going to be talking about tonight is stuff that for a very long time I thought I probably never would share with anybody. It seemed very personal and private stuff to me, and I came across it slowly over over a period of years, I suppose. Really, I can't pinpoint an exact time when it began or when I exactly began to trust it and rely on it, but it does work, and I believe that it is so reliable that it is now teachable, and perhaps I've just reached an age where I don't mind if you think I'm slightly oddball or something, but I'm just going to teach it and leave you to decide whether it's something you want to take on board in your own life. And your opinion of me is your opinion of me. So with that said, let's move in. So as you can see, I've put here on the screen, attract money whenever you need it without extra effort, even if you're a total law of attraction skeptic, which I certainly was for quite a few years. So, and I'll tell you a bit about that as we go through the program. So what you're going to discover here today, why attracting money is effortless. You see, and I'll put there, it doesn't work otherwise. The myth that I grew up with, and I'm guessing most of you did as well, is that the only way to get money, I won't call it attract it, is to work hard for it, usually very hard. And for very, very many years as well. And then if you survive long enough, and you've saved enough, or the government, whichever country you're in, you know, I'm here in the UK, so we have a state pension scheme, but I don't know how it works in other countries. But you know, we're kind of forced to save for that, and then that you can save on top of that through other various private schemes and so on for private pensions, some of which notoriously just disappeared or went bust, so people lost all their money. But if you live long enough, then you might end up with enough money just about to live just above survival rate until you croak. And only a handful of people ever get above that. The second bullet point I put there is why the more you do what you love, the more you will attract riches, because that flies in the face again of certainly the myths, I want to call them myths, that I was taught. I remember having a big argument when I was a teenager, just leaving education, with my dear old dad, bless him, he's gone now, been gone many years, but and he wanted me to go into the family business, which he hated. And I had this big argument with him saying, you know, well, first of all, it wasn't my idea that you started this business or joined this business, and why would you want me in it? And he said, well, you've got to make a living. And we had a big row, and I remember saying to him, well, you might be making a living, but I don't think you're having much of a life. Didn't go down too well at the time, but it's a long time ago now that he and I had that bust up, and I still stand by that sentiment. I think I could have probably handled it a bit better, but it was true. He wasn't having much of a life. He hated what he did, and I was determined that I was not going to spend my life hating what I did. At the time, what he was right about and what frightened me, and probably the reason that I got angry was because I was scared, was that I couldn't see an alternative either. He said, you've got to make a living. And I thought, well, yeah, I do. You know, somehow, now that school and college is over, I have to earn money. And all the ways I can see of doing it don't appeal to me. And there were things that did appeal to me. It wasn't that I just wanted to be a layabout. I didn't. But I couldn't see a career path doing the things that I loved, which included at that time playing my guitar, which I still do, but more importantly, writing and teaching. And what attracted me at that time was psychotherapy. And here in the UK, certainly then, there was no direct career path to becoming a psychotherapist. Doctor, psychiatrist, yes. Psychotherapist, no, that was considered a bit oddball. In the States, it was much more acceptable, but not here. There were psychotherapists, but they were pretty much taught, as far as I know. So so discovering that you can do what you love, and that helps to attract riches, was a late in life discovery, and something I was very, very doubtful of for a very long time. And then I'm going to show you the simple 6-step formula for making this happen time after time. So let me tell you a bit about me and my history with this, so that you know who I am and why I am speaking to you, and why I'm the one that kind of knows how to make this work. So for some of you know me, some of you don't, and welcome to all of you. Thank you for showing up and putting your trust in me and giving this time. So there I am. That's roughly what I look like, and I'm Trevor Emden, as it says underneath. So my background is that I did train in psychotherapy. I managed to find a pathway in the National Health Service, the British National Health Service of the 1980s and 90s, to actually get trained in psychotherapy, in particular something called NLP. They actually paid for me to do that. Don't worry if you don't know what NLP is. It stands for neuro-linguistic programming, but if you don't know what it is, that doesn't help you. But it's to do with the way we process information in our minds, and I'll talk to you more about the relevant parts of that as we go through the presentation. Now, I was a total law of attraction skeptic. I hadn't heard of the law of attraction until I was in my 30s, and that was in the 1990s. And so it was long before The Secret came out, or long before it was sort of popular with the general public. So I did hear of it a long time ago. I was open to it partly because the person who introduced me to it was a lady called Jill Edwards, who's passed away now. But she was a British psychologist who'd left her well-paid job, which she loved, to teach this and write about it. And she wrote a book. She wrote several books, actually, but the first one just came out, or I think it was 91 or 92, called Living Magically. And all her books are still available, I think, if you want to check her out on Amazon. So she wrote this book, Living Magically, which was really about the law of attraction. And she said that basically we create our own reality with our thoughts and with our beliefs. And I liked that idea, and I liked her, and I met her, and I got to know her quite well, and I spent quite a lot of time doing some training with her, and she trained me and others to teach metaphysics and the law of attraction in the mid-90s. And I loved the teaching and I loved the ideas, but I would come away from those groups and then try and apply it in my own life and not get particularly notable results. Nothing that I could say, well, that's working. Certainly nothing that I felt confident enough to teach others to do. So I began experimenting with the law of attraction in the early 90s, early to mid 90s, mostly because my own life was in a terrible state at the time. My own first marriage had broken up horribly. I was in a lot of debt, and the job that I loved at that time, which was in psychiatry in the National Health Service, was coming to an end because we had Mrs. Thatcher as Prime Minister here, and she was closing hospitals, and lots of things were going on. So it was a kind of perfect storm for me around the first half of the 1990s, when everything that I had worked personally and professionally to build was falling apart. And there were a number of things that happened prior to 1999 that I can now look back on and say, I think that was possibly when I first started to actually attract money. But I can't be sure, and they're a bit vague memories now. But the big one, the first really, really big one, came in 1999. And by then, I had left the health service. I was working for myself, practicing NLP, and helping people to stop smoking was my main thing. And I went to America to train, be on a program with Anthony Robbins. And to do that cost me all the money I had and quite a bit more. And I maxed out every credit card, every available line of credit I could lay my hands on to spend, I think it was a total of 7 days with him and about 500 other people in Hawaii. It changed my life. It was totally worth it. But when I came back, I remember I didn't have a job. I didn't have a payday coming in. I had absolutely no money, nothing. Now, I was riding high because I'd been on this program in Hawaii. I mean, just Hawaii itself is enough to lift the spirits. But 5 days, I think it was, with Anthony Robbins and 500 people, all being absolutely pumped up, certainly changes your state and changes you dramatically inside as well. And the course was very, very powerful. It was called Date with Destiny, and it was absolutely amazing. And so I did that, came back, had no money at all, absolutely no money, to the point that I was living off whatever was left in the freezer and what hadn't gone off in my cupboards. I had to borrow money from my girlfriend at the time, I remember, to put petrol in my car. And I made a conscious choice in my head. I thought, I mean, I even had letters from the bank telling me, you know, we're bouncing checks. I made a conscious choice, which was, I can either repeat the same thought patterns and behavior patterns that I've done a number of times in my life when I've been close to running out of money before, and that is to panic. Or, and I remember thinking this quite distinctly, I've just done the most amazing course, but probably had the most amazing week of my adult life to date at that time. I could stay in that high because I realized for the first time at that point that worrying about having no money was not going to help. I didn't know where it was going to come from. I was waiting for the phone to ring. I was hoping for some smoking clients or some NLP clients, something. I was, you know, fingers crossed kind of philosophy. I really had no idea where it would come from. And 9 days went by, which is a very long time when you have no money and don't know how you're going to pay the rent or even how you're going to eat or drive around. And the phone did not ring. Nothing of note happened. And I struggled to stay in that positive state. But every time I caught myself falling off that particular wagon, as it were, of thinking negatively and worrying and being fearful about it, I stopped myself. I said, this is pointless. It does not make anything happen. It's not helpful. I don't know what will happen anyway, but I know that worrying about and being fearful of it won't help. Now, I know I'm laboring that point a bit, but I really, I'm going to come back to it. I really want you to get this, because actually what I did then laid the foundations for what I'm going to teach you here today, and for really massively changed my life. And if you get that foundation stone of what I'm going to show you here today, it can change yours too. So on the 10th day, the phone rang. And at the other end of the phone was a lady, an Irish lady, whom I had met, I think, twice in my life for very brief periods. And we'd met at conferences about the Stop Smoking franchise, or as part of the Stop Smoking franchise that we both belonged to. She was not someone I knew well at all. In fact, I would say that if I'd met her in the street, I probably wouldn't have even remembered that it was her. I probably wouldn't have recognized her. So I was very surprised that she was calling me. And she said, I need some help. She said, I've been, she was phoning from Dublin in Ireland. And she said, I've been on the TV over here in Ireland and talking about helping people to stop smoking, and live on air on a very popular TV program, I've helped 3 Irish celebrities to quit smoking. And as a result, in the last 10 days, she said, I've had over 2,000 phone calls, which anybody, I think, would agree was for her a quality problem to have. But she said, I can't see all these people. she said, even if I worked 7 days a week, I'm now fully booked for the next 2.5 years. Are you busy? Can you come over and help me mop up? And so I said, well, I'd love to, but you'll have to buy me my plane ticket. And she was happy to do that. And so I went over to Dublin for 10 days. And I won't go into all the details, but obviously we split the profits. And I came home with almost £10,000 for 10 days work. Now that was completely out of the blue, completely. So I had no idea why she'd called me. I did later ask her why she called me. Why me? You hardly know me. And she said that I was not her first choice, that the person she'd called was a mutual friend who was also a stop smoking therapist in the same organization at that time. And he had also been on the Anthony Robbins course at the same time. And she called him because they were friends, and he wasn't available. He was too busy to go over. And he said to her, but I think Trevor might be free. Now, I didn't know that they'd had that conversation. But we were friends, he and I. And so he suggested that she call me, gave her my number. And she had said to him at that time, but I don't know Trevor. And he said, well, he's just been on the Anthony Robbins course the same as I have. And she said, oh, well, in that case, he'll have the same bouncy energy as you. So he'll be fine. So actually doing the program, actually taking the risk of maxing out every line of credit that I had to get to Hawaii to do that, paid me back many times over by that recommendation. So you can call all of that coincidence if you like, and I don't mind. All I know is that I stayed in that high energy, and when she called, I wasn't sitting there with my head in my hands despairing. So I didn't even know it was going to be her at the end of the phone. So imagine how my tone of voice would have sounded even when I picked up the phone and said hello, just that word, hello, to her, compared to how it would have sounded if I'd spent the previous 9 days panicking and in despair and fear. I guess she would have picked up the difference in energy, and she might not even have offered me the deal because I had no idea who was on the other end of the phone, and certainly not a clue what she was about to say to me. It was a major turning point. So then all kinds of things happened, and I'm going to fast forward now to the present day, and I've now used the process that I derived out of that experience many times, and it worked so well. It worked so well over and over again. Not always with £10,000 worth of results, but always money from unexpected sources, very often in amounts that are more than enough for what I need for the next phase of my life, whatever it is. And it worked so well, and I came to trust it so much that in 2013, I quit my job, knowing that money would come and keep on coming. And after my first year of success, I wrote a book about it, which is called How to Use the Law of Attraction to Quit Your Day Job. I know it's not very big on this slide, but I wanted to show you that it got into the top 20 in its category. That book there, I don't know if you can see, is Rhonda Byrne's book, The Magic, which was number 19 on that day. And that is, she's the author of The Secret. So she's a major bestseller. So I was only one place behind Rhonda Byrne when that book came out. Dr. Joe Vitale, if you know who he is, he was one of the stars of The Secret, very well-known marketer and writer of books about the law of attraction and many other things of that nature as well. He's endorsed that book now, and he says that it's liberating and inspiring, I think. So that endorsement is now on the cover and on the inside of that book. It's available on Kindle only. And I'm not here to sell you the book. I just want you to know that I was able to write about it so that, because it's something that I'm passionate about helping other people to do. And I now have an international coaching business. I work from home, from where I'm speaking to you now, and many of my clients are we work with by Skype, and I have had clients as far away as Honolulu and Spain and Switzerland and some here in my own town as well. And that's what I do for a living, and it's working brilliantly well. So my entire life has changed because I know that I can rely on this working and me making it work. So it's all down to me. Now, what I'd like to just, before I go in and show you the method, I would like you to just consider what's the alternative, because this is where I was for the longest time. If you, as I expect you probably are, especially, I know some of you probably know me quite well and know that I talk about this kind of thing quite well. Some of you have had teaching from me before, but if you're new to this way of thinking, it's quite likely that you think, as I used to think, because we're conditioned culturally to think this way, that it's like, well, this probably doesn't really work. He's just had some lucky breaks. He was in the right place at the right time, all those kind of things. And I can't prove to you scientifically that that's not the case. I definitely can't do that. If you're looking for scientific evidence, then you won't find it here today. Okay? But even that doesn't matter, because the alternative is, if you believe that you have no influence over your destiny, financial or anything else for that matter, then you are relying on luck or coincidence or fate or being in the right place at the right time, or whatever you think is the way life and the world works. In particular, you feel separate from it. You are a small, insignificant speck that's here for a short time on a small, blue-green, insignificant planet, and why should anything or anyone, for that matter, but anything, any power, care about little old you? I know I'm kind of painting that fairly bleak, but I want to illustrate the point that that's certainly the kind of way I used to think, and the kind of way, I know I'm paraphrasing it, but the kind of way I think generally we are conditioned to think, that we're on our own here, and we make it happen or nothing happens. And then if luck, coincidence, and fate don't actually work, then you do. It's what my father wanted me to do. You've got to make a living. I do have to make a living, but making a living comes from adding value to people's lives. It comes from contributing me to the world. And for you, it comes from contributing you to the world. Whatever you especially are, not what you do, but what you are, how you show up with positive energy and a smile on your face, right? Working hard for decades, hoping that you won't drop dead before you can collect your pension so you can finally get on and do some stuff that you've wanted to do, is not a life, as far as I'm concerned. So that's the alternative. You rely on a lucky break of some kind, and if the luck doesn't show up, then you just keep on that treadmill. You'll believe that life is all an uphill struggle. Everything you want in life, you're going to have to work for, you're going to have to struggle for, and at any moment, you expect it to, or you have to ensure in some way against it collapsing around you. And the reality is as well, if you take that view of life, then you are very unlikely to fulfill most of your dreams and ambitions, because most people don't, do they? Most people, go through their childhood, their education, leave education with whatever they've got, and end up on some kind of a treadmill, hoping that they will, Earl Nightingale had this wonderful phrase, this wonderful quote, where he said, most people tiptoe through life hoping to make it safely to the grave, which really speaks to me a lot, and is a scary possibility, I think, that we just, I just hope that I survive long enough to, see my kids grow up, and that there's enough money to pay off the mortgage, and fingers crossed everything will be all right, and, keep going, even though I'm not really enjoying probably 80% of this, you know, struggling even to get enough sleep sometimes. So that's your alternative. And if you live that way, then the more you live that way, the further away from being able to attract or manifest money and the opportunities that you need in order to live the way you want to live, the further away they become. Now, my question to you about that is, why would you believe that? Why would you believe in this that we're looking at here on the screen? Why would you believe that everything's luck, coincidence, fate, that life is an uphill struggle, when there's an alternative of, actually, maybe I can make it all work. Maybe I can just be me. It's because it's fear-based. It's because we're afraid of disappointment. But what if all that fails? Well, I would like you to flip that over in your mind and ask yourself, but what if it all succeeds? What if it all goes right? Which is a question that most of us never think to ask ourselves. And actually, I would like to point out to you is how things are mostly anyway. Most things are all right most of the time. If they weren't, we wouldn't be here. All of us here today on this training have successfully crossed really busy roads without getting killed. You know, many, many times, I imagine. You know, we've, even when things have looked as though they're tough for us, and no one goes through life with no tough moments and tough times. And it would actually, life would be rather boring if that were the case anyway. But we've all survived. We've all found ways through them, round them, over them, under them. And everything that's ever happened to you is in the past. Okay, so, and obviously that's a truism, but it's worth saying, because the next 5 minutes, tomorrow, does not have to look like the past either. So instead of believing all this, what if you flipped it over and said, what if I just gave house room in my head to the possibility that this could all work? Okay, so let's have a look at how I've broken it down. And it breaks down into 6 steps, which work the way I work them by combining my NLP training, and I told you I'd come back to that, with metaphysics, which is essentially the law of attraction. There's more to metaphysics than the law of attraction, but for us, that's more than enough for our purposes here today. So NLP is to do with the way we process information in our heads, and I'll dip into it enough as we need to for each of these 6 steps. Okay, so the 6 steps are: clean your sunglasses. Now, I've given these names that to try and make them more memorable for you. Okay, clean your sunglasses, pan for gold, make a documentary, plant the seed, add weed killer, and then kick back on your sun lounger. Okay, so I'm going to go through each of those 6 steps one at a time and show you how it works. So just let me check chat box here. Okay, so we seem to be fine. Just quickly look, see if, okay, that's cool. Right, so thank you all still for being there. Can't see any questions in the chat box at the moment, but please post them in there as you need to as we go along. Okay, so here we go. Step 1, clean your sunglasses. Now, what I mean by that is you need to see things more clearly. In fact, I would say take your sunglasses off, really. But I called it clean your sunglasses because I realized that most people look at the world through dark lenses. They have a gloomy outlook on life. And I realized this a long time ago, in my teens, in fact. I started to realize it, although I didn't become really fully conscious of how much I needed to do something about it until much later in life, because I was too frightened to, really. But if you think about it, if you say to anyone, yeah, you're walking down the street and you bump into an old friend, you say, "Hi, how are you?" Now, with luck, they'll be all right, and they'll say something like, "Yeah, not too bad." Or it depends what country and culture you're from. People have different turns of phrase in the States than they do over here in the UK, for example. But in the UK, it's a common response for people to say, "Oh, mustn't grumble," which effectively means They could grumble, but they're not. It's not really acceptable to grumble, if you see what I mean. So they mustn't grumble. It's, oh, well, not bad. They'll say, not bad. Well, why don't you say good? And in fact, most of the time, your life is probably wonderful. Now look, shift your focus. The way you look at life is a choice I've put on this slide. Okay, so shift your focus. Just go with me for a minute or so here. What's working in your life right now? The very least that's working is that you're alive. This is what I know about you, even though I don't know most of you. You're alive. Therefore, you're breathing. I imagine it's probably fair to say that you have had enough to eat today, probably every day of your life, most days, probably, given the culture that you live in. You are amongst the privileged of the world because you must be watching or listening to me on some kind of device, computer of some kind, that is extremely expensive. Most people in the world could not afford the device that you're using and don't have access to one, even if you've borrowed one. Right? So, I mean, and I'm taking random things here. I could just talk about how beautiful the sunset is, or, and I don't know what else is in your life. I expect you have people who love you. Maybe you have pets that you love, and all kinds of things in and around in your life. But most people will look at what's wrong. Most conversations in the bars and pubs and restaurants, even in family homes, when the news is on, and I implore people to stop watching the news, it's just a drip feed of misery, about most of which you can do absolutely nothing. But most of those conversations will be along the lines of, isn't it terrible? Isn't it terrible what's happening in some country, or some war, or what's happened to some poor person that's been kidnapped or hurt in some way, or there's been a plane crash or whatever. And those things are terrible. And I'm not saying we should be Pollyannas, and I'm not saying we should bury our heads in the proverbial sand. I'm saying get a perspective. Most things are all right most of the time. It's awful if there's a plane crash, but the vast majority of planes took off and landed perfectly safely today and every day, right? The reason things get on the news at all is because they're exceptional. Most countries are not at war right now, right? So we need to get a perspective. So start focusing on what's good in your life. It's really important that you do that, because it changes your energy internally and externally. Seriously, it does. If you're noticing what's good and what's great and what you're happy about and what you feel good about and who loves you, baby, and all that kind of stuff, if you start consciously paying attention to that, instead of the one weed that's growing in your garden, but the rest of your lawn is beautiful. If you start paying attention to the lawn that's beautiful instead of the one weed, it changes the way you show up in life. It changes the way you feel inside, and therefore you show up differently. You show up with more of a smile on your face, more willing to help, more love in your heart, more joy, more fun to be around. And that in itself opens up opportunities that you cannot imagine or foresee from here. I'm telling you, it does. Trust me on this. It costs absolutely nothing to try that as an experiment, and it'll make you feel good. If nothing else happens, you just feel good. So try it. Okay, step 2, pan for gold. Now, what I mean by that is you need to search inside for why you want money. Okay, now you might think that's a ridiculous thing to say, but actually, I know everybody says they want money, but a penny, a dollar, a pound, a euro, or millions, or somewhere in between. And however much, why? Because just imagining a lot of money is meaningless. For one thing, money itself as a physical entity doesn't really exist. it's just a figment of collective imagination when you think about it, right? When I was a child, most money that was around that I was aware of was in coins and notes. And my dad would give me pocket money in those days, and I would get a coin. Yeah, one coin, 2 shillings, which is now 10p in English money. And then when I was a bit older, he gave me a pay rise, and I got 2 shillings and sixpence, which was known as half a crown, which is now 12.5p. It would buy you diddly squat now, but in those days it bought me quite a lot of chocolate and bus fares, and right. So actually, what it's physically worth has changed beyond recognition, and the actual format of it has changed as well. Although there are coins and notes still around, most of the time, I don't know about you, but most of the time when I go out, I don't have very much coinage or notes on me. I exchange electronic impulses that are somehow encoded into a magnetic strip on a plastic card that I carry around in my wallet for goods and services. Everything from the groceries in my supermarket to coffee to whatever. So it's now become electronic impulses that I can neither see nor feel most of the money, right? And numbers in different accounts. So I have, a certain amount in my bank, and then I go to the supermarket and say, right, I want those groceries, and swipe my card against a machine. I have no idea what it does, but X amount is subtracted from my bank account, and the same X amount is added to theirs. Amazing. Right? But apparently that's called money now. So it doesn't even exist. And value only exists in people's minds. If any of you know anything about how the price of stocks and shares move, the stock market can crash or go the other way, whatever the opposite of crash is, according to something called confidence in the market. Well, if anyone here can go out and get me a bucket of confidence and show me what it looks like, I'll be very impressed, because it actually doesn't exist. It's just what people believe about the way things are going, up or down, that causes the prices to rise or fall. Up or down, better or worse, really, is what they believe in. So when I say pan for gold, what I mean is you need to connect with your personal reason why. What will the money that you want to attract actually do? What difference will it make in your life? Okay, and then feel how that feels inside. Now you'll see I've written here emotion with a hyphen, because little e, those of you that remember your school days, who remembers? What's little e stand for? Do you want to put that in the chat box? What does little e stand for? As in E equals MC squared. What's it stand for? Come on, you boffins. Put something in the chat box. All right, well, you're not going to do it. I'll have to tell you. Little e stands for energy. Energy in motion. Now, I don't actually think that's the real origin of the word emotion. It might be, but energy in motion. E for energy, motion, movement. That's what moves things. When you move energy, things change. You want to connect with the emotion of why you want money. So when you do that, when you feel what difference it will make, then you are then you're connecting with it. It's not the money itself, it's the effect it's going to have. Even if it's, well, I want it to pay off the mortgage, okay, you'd need to drill down. That's why I call it panning for gold. You need to drill a bit deeper. I know you don't drill when you're panning for gold, but you get what I mean. So if you say, well, I want it to pay off the mortgage, so what if your mortgage was paid off, if that's your goal, what difference would that make to your life? Well, then it would mean I'd have more money to take my family on holiday or pay for my kids' education or whatever it would be. Okay, great. What would that mean? What would that mean? What difference would that change make? So you need to keep panning and panning and panning. Get rid of all the the pebbles and the sand and the dross that's around it until you see the little nuggets of gold inside, because that's what you really want it for. Money is a means to an end. It's never an end in itself. If you think about it, you can't do anything with money on its own. You know, we all know stories of the misers. I've got Ebenezer Scrooge, of course, being the most famous fictional miser probably in history. But if you just keep your money and don't do anything with it, it is absolutely useless. People who keep it all stuffed in the mattress or whatever, you can't eat it. It won't do anything for you. It won't even keep you warm unless you set fire to it. Right? So money itself is only ever a means to an end. So it's what you want it for, what you believe it can do for you. And that will also help you to get some handle on exactly how much you want, by the way. Because people think, oh, I want to win the lottery and I want to be, you know, multi-millionaire or something. And actually, probably a great deal less than that would be enough, more than enough, to live comfortably for the rest of your life and deal with your debts and your overheads or what have you, in all probability. So let's move on. Step 3. Once you know what the goal is, I'm just going to expand the screen a little because you're missing a little bit of the picture. So there we go. Once you know what the goal is that you actually want the money for, then you need to make it real in your head. Now, this is a real NLP step here. Okay, make it real in the here and now inside your head. So this one you definitely do with your eyes closed. I would actually do the previous one with eyes closed as well. I'd actually sit and do that, but you might want to do that one with pen and paper. But this one is 10, 15, 20 minutes just quietly by yourself. If you don't know how to get away from the noise in the family, have a bath. Take a bath, right? Even if you only have a shower in your house, take a bath. Because you can sit in the bath, you can lock the door, there are no phones, no pets, no children, and you say, I'm taking a bath. I haven't done one for years. So if you need a place to just get away, if you have one of those households where it's always chaos and noise, then I would suggest locking yourself in the bathroom for half an hour or so. Okay, but what you want to do is close your eyes and bring it to life as if it had happened. Use all your senses. Okay, so make it as real as you can. Make a documentary in your head of what your life is like, not will be like, is like in this it's already happened one. Now, I know in lots of law of attraction teachings, they talk about visualization and so on. I guess this is a kind of that, but this is not the same instruction as that. This is make it real as if it was here now. And there are things I can add to that, but right now it's enough to tell you that you can use your imagination, but you need to feel it. Feel that you're there, you're doing it, you're living it. Feel the joy and the pleasure of having that experience, that the money has come, you've done with it whatever you were going to do in the panning for gold step, and it's worked out. And then when you've got that, and this you can kind of follow sequentially. You can still do this with your eyes closed. You don't have to be in the bath, by the way, if you have quiet space, but you need quiet space to do these. The next step is called plant the seed. Okay, now if you're a gardener, look at this guy's hands here in the slide. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's a man's hands. He's got some seed there and some pots of earth. Now, I don't know what those seeds are, but we can be sure that when he plants them, they will not be visible. He will just put them to a certain depth inside that soil in those pots and pretty much forget about them. Because they're in pots, I expect he'll water them and he'll keep them in certain conditions that are right for whatever that crop is. But other than that, his job is done. He's planted the seed in the soil. Now, the soil for you is the background to your thoughts, if you like. And what you need to do is find the gap in your thoughts, which I've put on this slide here. And so you plant the seed of desire in there, and then you let it go like a gardener. So it's the letting go and let it grow. I put there, let it go, and it's trusting that it will grow. If you're a gardener, this is a really good analogy for this. If you're a gardener, like this, whoever this is, plant the seeds, and then nature takes over. A little bit of nurturing, a little bit of making sure the conditions are right. We'll talk about that in a moment. That comes in the next step. But otherwise, it's done. Nature does the rest. Nature will turn those tiny seeds into whatever plant they're going to grow into. And I can tell you, I'm no gardener, but I can tell you right now, those are not going to grow into daffodils, because daffodils grow from bulbs, and he hasn't got bulbs there. He's got seeds of some kind. So nature doesn't make that kind of mistake. It's not, oh, shoot, I planted, I don't know, whatever that is. I wanted wheatgrass and I got daffodils. No, if you've got wheatgrass seeds there, it's going to grow wheatgrass, because nature knows how to do that. In fact, I was eating an orange earlier today, and I took the pips out, and as I took one out, I just looked at it and I realized that to my untrained eye, it looked identical to the pip from a lemon that I'd cut into even earlier for another recipe. And I thought, that's really interesting, isn't it? Because I can't see any difference between these, and obviously they're related because they're both citrus fruits. But nature knows that if one of these is planted in the ground in the right temperatures and conditions, it's going to turn into a lemon tree, and the other one's going to turn into an orange tree. That's incredible, isn't it? How does it know? Where's the intelligence in there? There's nothing you need to do. You've planted the seed, and then you let go and you let it happen. Now, what do I mean by the gap in your thoughts? I want to quickly say something about that. The gap in your thoughts is to do with, okay, let me say it this way. If you watch your thoughts, if you can try this now, as long as you're not driving, and I assume you're not driving while you're on this presentation. So as long as it's safe to do so, you can close your eyes and actually do this now. If you just notice whatever your thoughts are about, even though I'm speaking to you, there are thoughts going through your head. And if you say to yourself right now in your mind, I wonder what my next thought will be about. And just watch your mind to see what happens. Now, a thought will come sooner or later, and it might be about anything. And you can try this after the show, okay? Experiment with that. But did you notice that before the thought came, while you were waiting to see what the next thought would be about, there was a little gap? Now, that little gap is very important, because what was in that gap? No thought. But you were aware. You weren't asleep. You didn't die. You didn't make lunch. You were just aware. Pure, plain, unadulterated awareness. Now, this is quite a deep one, but that's where you plant your seed of desire. So that little scenario you made, that documentary that you made after you'd panned for gold, found out why you want to do it, then you make the documentary, and then that has a feeling that goes with it, and you plant that feeling in that gap. You just pop it in and let it go, like that gardener is going to put those seeds in that soil. You let it go and you let it grow, and nature takes its course, and it will grow all by itself. So then step 5 is you do what I call add weed killer. Okay, so now you do not want the weeds to get your crop. So this is where you do have to do a little bit of gardening. And so, okay, so you've done it, and especially if you're new to it, and this is what I was like for years, and this is where I can actually short circuit that and save you potentially decades, if not your entire life, from doing this. Oh, that probably doesn't work. That's hocus pocus. It's rubbish. There's no science behind it. Blah blah blah. Whatever your doubts are. Okay. Now my question to you here. Look, I put it here on the side. Why would you believe that? Why would you believe that it doesn't work? Because what if it does? Okay, but I really want you to ask yourself that question. I'm asking it rhetorically. I don't expect you to necessarily answer me, but answer yourself. Why would you believe the doubts? And the only answer to that must be because it's safer. It's too frightening to believe that I have all this potential and I can create my life the way I want it. Why? Because I've been hurt before. I've tried things like this and it doesn't work, and then I just feel disappointed, and that's too scary. I don't want to go there again. There's no other reason not to believe what, because actually there's not a, well, was it Deepak Chopra said something like, there's not any more than we know, there's more than we can know, something like that. If he ever watches this presentation, forgive me, Deepak, if I misquoted you there, and I think it was you. But why would you not believe in the power to create your destiny the way you want it? You have imagination, you have thoughts, you have abilities, you have skills and talents and ideas. Why would you not believe that you can put all that potential to positive use to give yourself a fulfilling life that inspires you and inspires others and makes a difference in a way that you want to make it, that way you showed up in the world to do whatever you do? So you need to be prepared for the doubts and know how to kill them off before they take root. Now, again, this is a kind of an NLP process, which I don't want to go into in depth here because it'll take too long. But there are ways that you can simply notice what you think and choose a different thought. Remember, clean your sunglasses right back here, right? When I was teaching you, shift your focus, look at life, choose what you look at in life, choose what's working. Well, here is kind of a reinforcement of that, but there are powerful processes that are very easy to do, but take a little bit of time to teach. And you know, we've been going nearly an hour already, so I don't want to go into it. But you need to be aware that you have that choice and that freedom to choose your thoughts. And then you've done it. Then you kick back and sunbathe on your sun lounger. I just love this creature on this rock. It's just in bliss there, this seal. Because now you can live with peace of mind. You know, like the gardener does. You know, the gardener plants the seeds. Now, yes, sometimes there'll be, you know, the wrong weather conditions or what have you. But the gardener knows that you can, you plant some more seed, or you know, and what's that lovely story from the Bible about the seed? So, you know, some fell on stony ground and some were eaten by the birds, and so on. But some were good seed, and you just keep on sowing. The seed sower kept on sowing, if you remember the story. And some will grow. And you don't actually say, oh, this doesn't work, seeds don't grow, and walk away from it. That's a ridiculous philosophy. It's like, oh, well, you know, there's no point in thinking positive. And I'm actually, I didn't want to say that. Thinking positive. Positive thinking is not what I teach. Because thinking positive is a bit like going, there are no weeds in my garden, there are no weeds in my garden, when there are dandelions growing everywhere. That's just delusional. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not teaching you to be delusional. I'm teaching you to shift your focus and know that if a weed appears, you know how to deal with it. And it's not a reason to give up. It's not a reason to stop gardening or growing your crop or attracting money or whatever it is you want to do in your life. It's not. So once you've done it, you let go and you live with total peace of mind. Now, although that sounds like doing nothing, and certainly looking at this creature here on this rock, that does appear to be what he or she is doing. Actually, doing nothing is in itself a process, and how I do it and how I teach it now is a kind of very gentle meditation, and a very simple way to do it and how to incorporate it into your life. And doing nothing is actually a way of being. It's not, it doesn't mean sitting idly twiddling my thumbs while I watch sport and TV and eat potato chips and a pizza and what have you. It doesn't mean that. That's not what I mean. It actually is a peace of mind. You will sleep better at night. You'll wake up refreshed. You feel good every day. You know that good things are coming, and good things will come, and they start to happen. Okay, so let's recap quickly. There are 6 simple steps. Every one of them is a mind shift. There is nothing here that you don't need any complex equipment. You don't need anything. You don't need to spend any money on them. They're all totally within your control. The one thing that you have absolute control over is your own mind. And all that's required is a little practice. Now, if you're not prepared to put in a little practice to change your entire life, your destiny, and your financial future, then you have to ask yourself, why would I resist that? Why would I? I mean, you probably put in, a great deal more practice to learn to drive a car, ride a bicycle, or swim, or anything like that. So why would you not say, okay, all I need to do is train my own mind to make life really, really easy for myself and fulfilling and satisfying into the bargain? Because remember, the alternative is a lifetime of doubt and fear and worry and believing that you're separate from everything and you're on your own. It's hard work. Often it's something you dislike or even hate. And be honest, where has being skeptical got you until now? Now, I'm guessing that no matter how skeptical you are or not, you would not be here on this training if you didn't want something to shift. So here's your choice. You can take all of this, all I've taught you, and try to make it work for you. Or I can walk you through it personally. I can take you on a journey. That isn't me, by the way. He's only slightly better looking than me, but moving on quickly. If you would like me to be your guide, here's what I have for you. Now, I'm offering a series of 6 workshops. And I've never done this before, and I've never done it in this format before, but I want to get some momentum behind this. So over the next 3 weeks, for 3 Wednesdays and 3 Sundays, I'm going to take you through each step, 1 step per workshop, in depth, and answer all your questions that come up along the way. So this will be we'll have much more interaction. You can post your questions and so on along the way, and I will take you through each step. And I will teach you some mind reprogramming and meditation skills that will enrich your life as well as your bank balance, hopefully forever. And with each step, you'll get a cheat sheet, so that you can follow it and keep it printed off, keep it, and then you'll have like a binder, or put them in a binder or computer file, whatever, for each step. So you'll have the method there to refer to forever. Plus, you'll have access to an exclusive members-only Attract Money Miracles coaching Facebook group, where I will be on hand between sessions and after the course has ended as well. So you'll have access to me for an indefinite period of time to answer questions and chat with you. And also, of course, you'll get to know each other and support each other too. So that's part of the plan. That's just for members of the program. And a cautionary word. I'm going to be teaching this at quite a deep level, and I want to make sure I give everyone who joins the program my best. Now, there will be replays of this as well. So if you're watching a replay, I don't know how many people will have joined by then. So there will be a limit on places. Now, at the moment, I think that's probably going to be around 20 people at any one time anyway. So the doors may have been closed. So if you want to join this, you need to really take action on it. So the question I know you want to know the answer to, especially as we've been talking about money, is how much. So let me just walk you through that. First, let me ask you what this is worth. What would total peace of mind, the freedom of knowing that you are master or mistress of your own financial destiny, and in fact, it has far more far-reaching consequences than just money, as I'm sure you've realized, which is as close to total freedom as you can get. What would that be worth to you? Because surely the only answer to that is it's priceless. So right now, you're going to get 6 hours coaching from me. If you bought that individually, that will cost you just shy of $1,000 right now. However, because I can run this on a group basis, it's not going to charge. It's not going to cost you that. I'm not going to charge anything like that. So I did think about $497, which I hope you would agree is well worth it for training of this caliber. But I still felt that was out of reach for many people. And I really want to get this message out there in as many different ways as I can. And some of you on this program already know about how I teach and the depth to which I teach. So I want to reach. It's my passion to get people living their dreams and following their own hearts, and teaching you that you have the power, the inner resources to do it. So I felt very comfortable when I decided instead that I would offer it for just $297. But then I had some more second thoughts about that. Maybe those are third thoughts. I've written that on this slide. It's a little joke. So as an experiment, and I may not keep it at this price, but right now I'm opening this up today for just $197. That's US dollars. Okay, and you can register right now at that link there on the slide, which is wizardofwisdom.com/moneymiracles. And also, I think I can put a button on the screen for you, which should appear if you're watching this live, I think. And if you're watching the replay, it may not. So you can do one or the other. Go to wizardofwisdom.com/moneymiracles, or click the button. It will take you to the same place, and sign up right away. Now, just to remind you what you're going to get for your 197, you're going to get 2 live sessions a week for the next 3 weeks. So that's 6 sessions in all, Wednesdays and Sundays. It doesn't matter if you can't be there. I know there are people in different time zones, because you can simply watch the replays. If you can't be there, you will have the opportunity to send in your questions if you have questions, because we'll be looking at them in depth, and you'll get emails in advance about what the session's going to be about, and so on. So it will all flow in that way. So one session per attracting money miracles step, with plenty of time for you to ask questions and discuss issues that come up. The exclusive Facebook group where I will be on hand to discuss matters, answer questions, and get to know each other, and cheat sheets with each step. Now, I hesitated before doing this, and I'm still in some trepidation about doing it, but I'm going to do it. So I have one more thing for you, a special early bird bonus for the first 4 people who sign up only. And that is a private one-on-one Skype consultation with me of up to 40 minutes, one-on-one. Now, I'm offering this free because I realize that some people may have issues that are more personal and what they want to deal with. This is worth, well, I don't know, around at least $100. And might also be priceless, because you get some amazing tips from me. I need to be clear. This presentation is about attracting money. I'm not offering financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. If you want to know, where to put your pension or how to invest in the stock market, that's not me. What I will coach you in is matters related to the law of attraction, how to turn your dreams into reality, overcoming your limiting beliefs, things like that. But only 4 people can have this, and it will be on a first come, first served basis, and I will email the winners. Okay, so that's the only way I can do it. So if you apply for this, go to wizardofwisdom.com/moneymiracles, sign up today, right now. If you're one of the first 4 people, you will get an email from me saying, here's my Skype contact, and you're one of the 4 people. So I can't offer that to everybody for obvious reasons. There's only one of me. I don't have that many hours in a day or a week even to do that, to get lots of people signing up. So there it is. So I hope that's of use and of help to you. And I've now come to the point where I'm going to now switch my screen around and look at the question box or the chat box and see if anyone has any questions, and if I can help you with anything at all. If you haven't posted your questions in the chat box, now would be the time. Oh, energy, yes, people did answer my question. Thank you for answering my question. It didn't appear in the chat box in time for me to see it. That was about little e. E for energy. Okay, so does anyone have any questions either about the content that we've covered here today or the program that I've offered you? Please feel free to go and sign up, as I say, wizardofwisdom.com/moneymiracles. I will wait here if you're away doing that to see if you have any questions. So there's quite a few people still here on the presentation. So anything you'd like to ask? Has it been useful, ladies and gents? Have you got something from this? I think there's a delay on the chat box, so I will just hold on. Okay, I'm still here. I just feel a need to keep filling the gap, and just to let you know that I'm still here because I'm aware that you can't see me and I can't see you either. I can only see your that you're still here, and I'm waiting to see if anything appears in the chat box. Thank you for that feedback, Trevor. Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, right. Jennifer says, you say not to let the doubts come in, but how do you stop them? Okay, so there's a great question, Jennifer. Thank you for that. And can you add link to the offer button? Is it not working? I did add the link to the offer button before I set up the offer button. Let me post. I'll come back to your question in a second, Jennifer, because apparently the link is not working. So yeah, I don't know why it's not working, but if I put the link in the chat box, you should be able to get there. Right, so how do you stop the doubts from coming in? Well, okay, in a nutshell, Jennifer, the doubts, what you have to realize is that you choose your thoughts, okay? So the worst thing you can do is to try and have a willpower battle with them. So when what people do, and what I did for a very long time, when like negative thoughts would creep in, I would tell myself, no, I mustn't do that. I shouldn't have thoughts like that. I should think positive thoughts, and so on. And you can't do that, because that's a bit like in my NLP training, they taught us to say, well, you know, right now, do everything you can. I want you to really try hard to not think of an elephant. Oh, okay, we've got a, Jennifer, you're saying something about the button. Okay, Jennifer says about the button, if the button's not working, you have to click on the offers button to see it, and then toggle back to the chat to see that part. I hope that makes sense. The problem is, folks, I can't see what you can see. So I hope that helps. But if you just copy and paste the link that you should all now be able to see in the chat box, if you can't get there any other way, wizardofwisdom.com/moneymiracles, that will take you there anyway. Okay, so so if I say to you, okay, I'll come to that in a second, Billy. If I say to you, don't think of an elephant, you will, what would you think of? You can't put a negative thought in your head, because your mind doesn't recognize negative thoughts. You can't say don't do something. It's called an embedded command in NLP. Okay, so that's like step one, realizing that you can't fight the doubts. So, but what you can do, there are ways of changing the qualities of them, of your thoughts. So, okay, let me give you an NLP example. So, for example, if you're, let's say you're going to, I don't know, a swanky dinner, and you're walking down the street with some friends, all dressed up, feeling great, having a good time, having a laugh on your way to the restaurant, and you slip on a banana skin. And you don't hurt yourself, but you feel foolish and you embarrassed, and you get up and you sort of brush yourself down and you say to your friends, you know, maybe one day I'll look back on this and laugh. Okay, now I'm not saying you would react that way if you slipped on a banana skin, but just suppose for the sake of the example. Now the NLP question would be, well, if you know that one day you will look back on that incident and laugh, why would you wait? Why wouldn't you do that now? Because the incident is over. You can review it in your mind in any way you like. The way you're doing it right now in that story that I made up about you is makes you feel embarrassed. But if you know that you can review it differently and it makes you feel amused, so you can laugh at it, but what you're saying is, but in order for that to happen, then I have to wait for time to pass. Well, NLP says, take control of that. You already have that skill, you have that facility, you have the ability to look at things that happened in the past that were at the time uncomfortable, and now you can laugh about them. There must be a way that you change the way you view the thoughts in your own mind that make you feel differently about them. And when you start taking control of that, then you're in charge. And you can do similar things with the doubts. So you don't actually stop them. You allow them to be there. You notice them. You observe them. And this is why I mix metaphysics with NLP. Because if you noticed in that step where I told you to, it was planting the seed, where I told you to watch your thoughts for the gap. Well, you can do that with this as well. You can step back and watch your thoughts and go, hey, I don't have to view it that way. So you just change the doubt into a different form, if you like, and it will evaporate. It stops having power over you. I hope that, and it's really difficult to explain in a very short time, Jennifer, but I hope that that makes some sense. There are ways of managing your mind so it stops having power over you. Okay, if you have more questions about that, please post it, and I'll come back to you. So in the meantime, Billy, you've posted this as a private question. Is it okay if I address your question publicly? I hope that's okay. Billy, are you still there? Can you let me know if I'm? Yeah, he's still there. So can you let me know if it's okay to read your question out to the group? Because I'm not sure why you posted it privately to me. Billy, I don't know if you can still hear me. Oh, thank you. Okay, got it. Right. Okay. So, so Billy says, I've tried a lot of these courses. I've never made any money. Why would your course be the first one to work for me? Look, what I can say is, first of all, I've never made any money. I understand that doubt, and I can't tell you I can't put a guarantee on if you do my course you will make money. What I can say is, I mean, I know that I can attract money. I can attract opportunities of pretty much any kind into my life. I trust that now. And so what I will teach you on this course is to trust life, to trust that you have the freedom to choose what you do, that it's your nature and it's the way the world and the universe works. It's it's an amazing, freeing feeling. I did not say, and I will not say, and I am not saying, if you do this course, you will be attracting money in 3 weeks from now. Because I don't know that. First of all, I don't know what you're going to do with the material, and secondly, I don't know what situation you're in. I have no way of predicting that. So I have to be clear about that. I'm not promising with the course that there'll be money coming into your life in 3 weeks. What I do know is that right now, there probably isn't. And I don't know, when you say I've tried a lot of these courses, you've never tried mine before. I have no idea whose courses you've tried. I'm not comparing myself. I can't compare myself against others because I don't know. I only know that mine is unique, and it will be tailored to the participants as well. This is not cookie cutter. There are 6 steps, but whoever joins the course, whatever you bring to the program, will become part of the program. So I can't give you a guarantee about making money. What I do know is I think what you're asking me, Billy, is a bit like saying, let's suppose you were a bodybuilder, right? And you're doing bench presses, and I say, look, I'm a bodybuilder coach. I know how to build bodies. I don't, by the way. But suppose that was the offer, and you say to me, well, how can I be sure if I hire you that I'll build a better body? And the answer is, you can't. But I do know this: the people that work without a coach, are they going to make that one more push to do the one last bench press? Or are they more likely to do it if there's a coach standing by them going, go on, you can do it, one more? It's that difference. It's the difference in the motivation, it's the guidance, and the expertise that you get. I've walked this path. I'm living this path. I'm living proof that this works. And what I've hopefully demonstrated in today's presentation is that I also know how to teach it. I can teach you to do it. Whether you do it or not, I can't be sure. I can't be sure how you'll do that or what you'll do with it. I do know if you use even small parts of it, you will feel better about your life. Opportunities will start opening up to you because you feel better about you and yourself. That's for sure. But it still depends on what you do with it. Your question is also great because it's a perfect example of what Jennifer is asking about. Is like, well, here's my doubt. Yes, absolutely. You're right to have doubts. It's to be expected. And it's why it's so important to deal with them. I want to teach you, those of you that join the program, to look at the world through cleaner sunglasses or through zero sunglasses. That it's not a place that is out to get you, trip you up, make life difficult for you, and is all a struggle. It's actually a place that works. Just look at it. Look outside the window, whatever you can see. I don't know whether you can see trees or a highway, but the sky is there. The world is spinning. The seasons are changing all by themselves. The world works, the universe works. You're part of all of that. It's about flowing with life instead of being frightened of it in case it doesn't all work out. I can only say, Billy, take it on trust, or just notice your skepticism and don't. I can't make you promises about the results other than I promise to teach you at a very deep level, and I promise if you take it on board, you will feel very differently, and you will what's the word I want, connect with your own power. It's gentle. It's not superhero stuff. That is the stuff of fiction. This is spiritual, really. And I know people don't Don't like that word when it's mixed up with money often, but that's how it is. It's all the same. It's just energy. So I know that's a kind of long, convoluted answer, but it's as honest as I can be. I can't say, yes, if you do this, you'll be attracting money. And it's not a business course. It's a metaphysical program to teach you how to become an attractor of money. I also suspect, by the way, that what makes my course different from others is that I don't think anybody else blends NLP and metaphysics in the way that I do, because I will give you real practical tools, mental tools that you can use there and then. You'll be able to feel the results. Hopefully I've given you samples of those along the way, but we'll go into a lot more depth in the program. You'll actually have abilities that you don't have right now, in the way that you actually use your mind, which will change the way you show up in the world and change the way the world reacts to you. Okay, are there any more questions, folks? I hope I've answered that, Billy, well enough for you. Thank you for the question. It's a perfectly valid one, and you're quite right to ask it. Okay. Is the link working now? Are people trying to use the link? Is it working for you? I suppose I should have asked that the other way around. Is anyone still having problems with the link? Okay. So there are still some people here. I don't see anything else coming up in the chat box at the moment, so I'll just wait another minute or so. Does anyone have any more questions? If anyone's having any problems with the link, please let me know that, and I will fix it in some way. Or more questions or comments or anything else that you need to say to me or would like me to say to you or tell you about? Okay, well, you've all gone quiet, so I'll just hang on another 30 seconds or so to see if anybody else posts something in the chat box. But in the meanwhile, it just remains for me to thank you very much, all of you, for giving up your time today. I hope that I've been respectful of it and that you've found this presentation useful, whether or not you choose to join the program. As I said, this will be going out as a replay. For those of you that are already watching it as a replay, I said on the live one that it will be going out as a replay. Thank you, Jennifer. You know, that you're welcome. Thank you, Marty. That it will go out as a replay, and that there'll be only if you want to place on the program, there will be a limit on that, and especially if you want the early bird bonus, there's a very tight limit on that too, because there's only one of me. But otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up, and thank you all again for being here. I wish you all a good day, whatever part of your day is left, because I realize you're in different parts of the world, and enjoy yourselves and your life, and I may well see you in the program. Thanks again. Bye for now.